So this is eliminating glue code with Cocoa bindings. Who am I? I'm Tyler Hall, as he said. I work for HCA and their IT department. And at nighttime, I run Click on Tyler, which builds productivity apps for web developers on the Mac. So that's a mouthful, but it's what we do. Okay, so Cocoa bindings, what are they? What's the point? Well, Apple says they're a way to reduce the code dependencies between your models, your views, and your controllers. And it automatically synchronizes views when models change. So if you have a text field and you have like a first name model object, when you change first name in your code, the text field automatically updates. And it works the other way too. If you change the text field, it updates your model. So it's all a bunch of magic that happens via key value observing, key value coding. But it really does work, and it's all done through Interface Builder. So the specific definition is, a binding is an attribute of one object that may be bound to a property in another, such that a change in either one is reflected in the other. So let's do a very simple demo. And the goal of this presentation is to turn you all into Mac developers. Because it is so much fun, because there's no sandboxing, there's no app review. You can do whatever you want. Just let me delete this and get started. So here we have just a basic NS window, and we're going to drop in a text field, and we're going to drop in a slider control. You don't have this on iOS, but I think you can figure out how this thing works. Okay, so we're going to bindings. We're going to bind the value of the text field to a variable called foo. You can see that there. And then we're going to bind the value of the slider to foo as well. And I'm going to make this update continuous. Save it, run it, and you can probably guess what this is going to do. The point is, this is all with no code. So you can keep anything you want updated. And this is great for preference panes, because you can bind one of your checkboxes for like use a dark theme to NS user defaults, and you automatically have that saving relationship. Cool, so there's that simple demo. Let's do something a bit more advanced. I heard somebody say about a year ago that Twitter clients are the new Hello World. Everybody seems to build one, so that's what we're going to build today. Let me show you what it looks like. First, the finished version, what we're working towards. So this isn't any regular Twitter client. You can't post, you can't favorite, you can't do anything. All you can do is search. So let's search for something that might be trending, perhaps Trump. What are people saying about Donald Trump? And so here's a real-time list of tweets coming in about Donald Trump. You can sort by followers and any other field, so you can see who's the most popular tweeter.
This is real time?
This is real time. This is streaming in. Over here, I'm parsing out URLs, so you can see the most popular link currently is this YouTube video. Let's see what this is.
Let's do it. You have adult filter.
Yeah. Come on, YouTube. Oh, well, that's interesting. Okay. Anyway, but you can see people are tweeting about it. You can come down here and you can see the various hashtags. Of course, hashtag Trump is the most popular. So this is just an interesting way to look into Twitter and see what's going on. But if you notice, we have 4 table views. You have this one on the left showing your searches, the tweets, the links, and the hashtags. So if anybody's ever written table view code before, you know it's not very complicated, but there is a lot of boilerplate. Especially if we're doing 4 of these in one controller, that's going to be a whole lot of boilerplate code. So hopefully we can find a way to reduce that. So what are we going to need to build this thing? Well, we're going to need our model objects. So the model objects are going to be a search, a tweet, a user, a link, and a hashtag. We're we're going to need some sort of helper to parse the data into core data from us, from the Twitter streaming API. And then we're going to need 4 sets of table view delegates and data sources. And we're also going to need a way to create a connection between core data and the UI to actually update everything. But fortunately, with bindings, we can eliminate those 2 bottom requirements. So bindings will do this for us automatically with no code. So let me show you what the non-code looks like. Okay, let's walk through what's in this app first. App delegate, it's just your normal stuff. It sets up the window and displays it. Nothing really to look there. Our Twitter helper class, what this does is connect to the Twitter streaming API. There's our OAuth tokens. It starts the search, and then whenever it gets a new tweet, it just goes to the JSON and imports it into core data. So it's stuff you've probably written 1,000 times before. Our model objects have nothing in them. There's no fancy logic. They're just plain core data objects. All the fun stuff happens in main window controller. So if we scroll down, we have add search, which is when you click that add button, it pops up a sheet and lets you populate the search query, which is done here. We have a delete search button, which deletes the search. And that's it. There's no code yet for table view delegate, for table view data source. There's no way to update the UI yet. But we're not going to write any code. So let's clear these out. Let's pull up the zip file. So on Mac, there is no fetch results controller. Instead, what you have are NS array controller. Let me pull that up. And that's what we're going to use to connect from core data to our UI. So we're going to connect this first array controller, and it's going to manage our search pane that shows what searches we're currently doing. So if we zoom in over here, we want it to be a core data entity. This is the type of class it's going to manage, and it's going to manage searches. And then up here in the bindings tab, we scroll down, we also need to give it a manage object context, which if you use core data, you know what that is. Okay, cool. So the array controller is hooked up, and what it's done so far is when the app loads, it'll automatically pull in the core data searches into memory for us. But we have to display it in the UI as well. So if we click into this table column, here we go, we can come over to the bindings tab, and we're going to bind to the array controller for searches, and the key path is going to be query, which is just the title of the search. So let's save that, and if the demo gods work, we will have searches. Oh no, what did I do wrong? Is there an error anywhere? This is why I hate coding on the fly in front of people. Okay, we'll ignore that. We'll keep going. The next bit is we're going to pull in another array controller. And this one we're going to connect to our tweets. So we're going to come over to the inspector. We're going to change it to an entity for core data and make it a tweet. That's the type of object it's going to manage. And then for the bindings, it's content set. These are the objects that it's going to control. We bind it to AC searches, so the current selection, and then tweets. Now, if you want to see what that data looks like, this probably should have shown us earlier. We have our search model object, and it connects to tweets. We have a date, a GUID, a text field. Each tweet connects to the user. We also have links and hashtags attached to the search same thing for tweets, for links, for hashtags. And when you're done, you have these 4 array controllers right here that are bound to the UI and to core data. And when it runs, hopefully, yay. Now we get a spinning beach ball death. So let's try something a bit more lighthearted from CocoaHeads. Oh,
He's tweeting. No, he's tweeting.
That's
Quick,
sad.
Get on your phone.
I think your internet connection died.
That is very likely.
yeah, it did.
That happens here a lot, unfortunately.
How am I still connected to the Apple TV then?
It's ad hoc.
Oh. Let's go back to a little public.
Yeah, if you just disconnect and reconnect it, that's usually good enough.
Still, nobody's tweeting about us. Anyway. So that was the scary live coding demo. Any questions? That's a lot to talk about.
You're gonna
5
post the
minutes.
working version that we could.
Yeah, it's all on GitHub already.
Okay.
So it seems like sometimes you get autocomplete in the fields. in
And
the
sometimes
interface
that autocomplete is cut in half and you can't see what you're
It's
autocompleting.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get autocomplete for the entity names, but whenever you're binding to an element, it is smart enough to autocomplete the property names.
Is that only because you like put it in the class
Mhm.
first that you want to use it?
Yeah.
What are some limitations that you've run up against, if any, using the like array controllers and?
There's so much magic involved. If you've ever, a lot of people don't like Interface Builder because they feel like they lose control because they're not writing code. I like Interface Builder, but there's so much to hook up in so many fields. If you do just the wrong thing, it just won't work and there's no way to debug it. Plus, it's not available in iOS. So, I keep hoping it'll show up one day if the processors get fast enough, but I think we're at that point and it still hasn't happened yet. So I don't think it'll ever appear.
Is there an API that you could use to do that programmatically then?
Yeah, you can write your own bindings with key value observing.
Did you have to do anything special to bind the different columns in that table view to your array?
Yeah, each column you bind to array controller tweets dot date dot user dot username dot followers.
You just do that like to the label that you want to attach that to?
Yeah, I'm gonna show you. So if I select the username column, it is bound to tweets user dot username. And you can go as far down the chain as you want with KVC. So there's a bit of auto completion there, but you can see it's cut off.
Truncated.
Makes sense. So anyway, that's 4 table views and core data without writing any code, which is quite fun, especially when you're prototyping something simple like this.
Are there any performance trade-offs between using this method versus doing it all in code like you would?
No. Because you're going to be doing the same thing anyway.
Sure. Have you played with any of the, this isn't on iOS, but there are plenty of libraries and tools and stuff out there that try to give you some element of this? Have you played with any of that stuff?
Like reactive Cocoa.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, a little bit. The syntax was a bit above my head, so I gave up on it. But for all my Mac stuff, I use bindings. It's magic, but it works. You just have to be careful not to get too complicated with it.
Just keep running and as you build it, right?
Yeah.
Have you tried doing it in Swift?
No, I just learned Swift, our first project about a month ago. So I wrote this right before I learned Swift, unfortunately.
What were the different update modes? Because I saw you had marked it as continuous.
Yes. If you mark it as continuous, as the control change, it'll update the value.
Okay.
If you don't mark it as continuous, it won't update until you do a mouse up and it loses focus.
Oh.
So who wants to be a Mac developer?
Yeah. How much more money can you make doing that?
A lot more than I've ever made on iOS.
Well,
So-
that's
It's like
good.
rather than 99 cents, you have, $59 apps.
Which is what I do.
Yeah.
Do you have any, so like, my main interest in Mac apps is for like building developer tools,
Yeah.
so things that help us, internally. Do you have any experience looking up like command line utilities and stuff like that to Mac GUIs to make it a little bit more intuitive, or?
Yeah, one of my apps called Hobo is a wrapper around Vagrant. So it does everything through NSTask to the
Okay.
command line, so run the Vagrant commands.
Oh, cool.
It's really simple.
I don't suppose that's open source.
The task